Let's talk about kerosene pickles. Let's talk about Old Man Rimshaw. Let's talk about Barney's sidecar. It's always fun to hang out with y'all. A loaded goat is causing a stir from the panic he is creating. Come on in, take a seat. It's 2 chairs, no waiting. Sit a spell and tune right in. We are about to start the show. We have a lot to talk about with the folks that we all know. Opie, Andy, and Otis Barn and the Darlings too. This will be amazing. It's 2 chairs, no waiting.
2 chairs, no waiting. Episode number 838. Aunt Bee's Brief Encounter.
2 chairs, no waiting. It's 2 chairs, no waiting. Let's start the show. 2 chairs, no
Thank you, boys, for playing us in and singing us in. Thank you to Russell for writing those lyrics and putting that music for me. I really appreciate that. He will be our executive producer for this week, Russell Estes. So thank you very much. Thank you for being with me as well. I'm Allan Newsome, the host of 2 Chairs, No Waiting, and it's always fun to spend time talking about the Andy Griffith Show with you guys. So let's get this thing going. Tonight, today, whenever you're listening to this, we're going to be talking about Aunt Bee's Brief Encounter. That's right. So that's the episode of the Andy Griffith Show that we all know and love. It was the 38th episode of the Andy Griffith Show filmed and the 41st episode aired. And so it's season 2, episode number 9 of season 2. His original air date was in 1961. It was December the 4th of 1961. The writers were Ben Gershman and Leo Solomon, and the director was Bob Sweeney. So we're going to be talking about that particular episode, and then we're going to go through, we're going to do some trivia before we talk about the episode, actually, about that particular episode. So you can't cheat me. So you can't cheat by already have finding the answers while we're going through the trivia. So that's no good. That's never any good to already have all the answers for you. So we're going to go through those first right here and now. So let's get started with that. We're going to, get our trivia music by the VW Boys. Thanks to Tim White for giving me the background music to go. So here's our trivia music. There we go. So this trivia is coming to us from MeTV. I was able to find this is the daily Andy Griffith quiz. Aunt Bee's Brief Encounter is the name of the quiz itself. So we're going to go through the questions pretty quickly. They're multiple choice. And then at the end of the episode, we'll go through it and get the answers. All right. Number 1. What's the name of the man who offers the tailors his services? Is it Mr. Monroe, Mr. Franklin, or Mr. Wheeler? Number 2. What does the man ask before he departs after his work in the yard or in the garden? Does he ask for an onion, a jump start, or maybe a bar of soap? What did he ask for? All right. Number 3, Aunt Bee shows the man a picture of her when her family moved to, did they move to Mayberry, Peoria, or Churchville? Number 4, what work do they keep him on to do the next day? He's there the first day. What work do they have him there to do the next day? Is it tree trimming, siding, or reshingling? Reshingling, that'd be the roof. Number 5, that night he and Aunt Bee go out to see what kind of a movie. Now, I'm not quite sure this is correct, but they do see this at the movie. Do they see a cartoon? Do they see a thriller? Or do they see a romance? Okay, remember your answer. Number 6, then the following day after they went to the movies, what do the tailors want him to do that day? Do they want him to mend a fence, paint a porch, or redo the crown molding. Number 7, while speaking to Andy, the man compares women to, does he compare them to fields of wheat? Does he compare them to clouds? Or does he compare them to felines? Number 8, you wouldn't happen to remember the mailman's name, would you? What was the mailman's name on this episode? Was it George? Was it Bob? Or was his name Marty? What was the mailman names on this episode? Number 9. What town's sheriff does Andy call to verify the man's story? The man that's been working around the house. Does he call Mount Erie? Does he call Mount Pilot? Or does he call Mount Vernon? And our final question. After the original man departs, Aunt Bee nearly falls for another who employs which trade? Is he a gutter hanger, a sink repairer, or a knife sharpener? What does he do? All right, so we'll go through those as we get after the episode is over, because I'm bound to give you some of the answers to these during the episode review as we go through these, because I do every week, right? So I hope you enjoy those, trying to get them. We will go over them and get the answers at the end of the episode, and we're going to hear from Paul Mulik. He's got some trivia questions for us related to cousins. So stick around if you'd like to do that. All right, so as I already mentioned, this episode is Aunt Bee's Brief Encounter, and in it, we find Aunt Bee. It starts with Aunt Bee and a man spraying her roses out in the rose garden. It's what she's doing. So I'm going to play a little background music for this too, just so we have some music going on here. There we go. This sounds like the right kind of music for this episode. So the man is spraying the garden, and he's getting down. He's spraying it with a different kind of sprayer, and she says, well, you have a different sprayer for everything. He says, oh, yes, ma'am, because this little sprayer here, that big one's got more nicotine in it, and this one doesn't, because it could hurt these little flowers. So Aunt Bee is very impressed with the ability of this particular handyman. And what was his name? Mr. Wheeler. It's right there on his truck. If you're watching the video version, you're seeing pictures. And Aunt Bee was happy with the work he was doing. Well, Andy pulls up in front of the Taylor home, driving up in the squad car, hops out, and he sees the man working, and he walks on up onto the porch where Aunt Bee is sitting. He says, Aunt Bee, got somebody working out here? And he says, now, did you find out how much it was going to cost? And she said, oh, no, I didn't even ask that. So Andy goes out to ask him because he's concerned about how much it might cost. Well, Mr. Wheeler ends up telling him it'll be reasonable. It's going to be a reasonable price. He said, just how reasonable will it be? And turns out it was really reasonable. He said, I could have charged you $1.75, and how about $1.65? Is that the right answer? I don't know. I don't remember. It was $1 and something. It was what the actual price was. It was $1.60. It was $1.60 is how much he charged him. But he could have charged him $1.75, but he wanted to get more work. Well, when Andy goes back up, he says, well, he was reasonable. And Aunt Bee is coming out with what Andy thinks is his lunch. And it turns out, oh, no, your lunch is in there on the table. This is for Mr. Wheeler. So Andy starts to realize Aunt Bee might be, specializing just a little bit on Mr. Wheeler. Because he comes back in after work, and Aunt Bee is in the kitchen, and she's dressed up more, and her hair's fixed a little bit different, and there's lots of food there. And Andy is kind of asking her, why are you so dressed up, Aunt Bee? Well, obviously Aunt Bee kind of likes Mr. Wheeler, because when the back door knocks and Andy says, oh, it's Mr. Wheeler, I bet, coming in, and Aunt Bee starts taking off her apron really quickly so she can look as best she can for Mr. Wheeler when he walks in the door. And he has finished his work and gives Andy an itemized bill. Andy pays him, and as he's about to leave, he goes, oh, could I bother you for an onion? Because I realized I don't have one for my stew. He says, well, how are you going to make your stew? Well, I have a little burner on the back of my truck, and I was going to cook it back there. And she said, oh, no, we have all this food in the house. And he had already smelled the fried chicken, by the way. And so the Andy and Aunt B invite Mr. Wheeler to have dinner with them at their table. And he is very complimentary of Aunt B and the fried chicken and all the food they had. And Opie is there eating with them. And at one point he's talking about how, man needs someone to care for and take care of, because he's not settled down. He just hadn't done that. And, but he says he does need someone to take care of. And Opie says, well, why don't you just get yourself a dog? Andy goes, well, I think Mr. Wheeler's thinking about a different kind of taking care of. But I thought Opie's idea, he wanted to take care of something. He could just get him a puppy. Opie heads on to bed, and Andy, seeing that Aunt B would like to talk to Mr. Wheeler, decides he'll go into the kitchen and he'll wash the dishes. Aunt B, you just go and sit down. So Andy takes a good long while washing the dishes, and he goes back in there and looks through the door from the kitchen into the living room and sees Aunt B sitting on the couch or in the chairs there telling Mr. Wheeler all about, oh, look at these pictures. This is me when I was young, and my family and I moved to Peoria. That was in one of the trivia questions. And when I was young and skinny, she says. And they chuckle, and Andy runs back into the kitchen because she said, I better check on Andy. So she comes in, and Andy says, oh, I'm sorry I'm taking so long, Aunt B. You having a good time? Well, Aunt B is concerned that Mr. Wheeler might leave. She says, well, Andy, maybe there's something else we could use getting done. He said, well, Mr. Wheeler, there is some shingles. There's some shingles loose up on the roof. Mr. Wheeler points it out first, but Andy says, oh, you are exactly right, and I need to get those fixed, because if it rained, we'd definitely have a leak in the house. And he says, well, then I'll work on that first thing in the morning. And so he starts to head back out to his truck to sleep. And Aunt B goes, wait a minute, where are you sleeping? Oh, in the bed of my truck. I've got a sleeping bag, and I can lay there and look at the stars. She goes, oh, you shouldn't stay out there. We have a perfectly good guest room right in here. And he says, oh, no, I couldn't impose on you. So, oh, but no, you shouldn't stay outside. So basically he gets talked into staying in the Taylor's guest room. And Aunt B is happy. Andy's happy for Aunt B, because at the moment he has not caught on to Mr. Wheeler, who the next morning we see preparing to roof the house. So he's got some shingles thrown over his shoulder. Andy comes outside and says, morning, Mr. Wheeler. He says, morning. He takes about 2 steps up the rungs of those ladders, and he starts, oh, my back. Oh, my lumbago or something, I think's what he says. And Andy says, oh, well, you get down off that ladder. Get down from there. And he says, oh, no, I can do it. So he goes up one more. Oh, he's hurting, holding his back. And he says, get down from there. And he says, well, Andy, if you could carry those shingles up there onto the roof, I'll come up there and relieve you. So Andy said, oh, sure, no problem. So Mr. Wheeler sits down out there, and Andy climbs up the ladder. Well, the scene cuts, and you see Andy on the roof nailing in those shingles. And you can see by his shirt that he has been up on the roof for a while, because he's sweating and he's hot, and he's finished basically with all the shingles. And he climbs down off the roof. Mr. Wheeler still sitting down there on the box that he's sitting on as a seat. And he tells Andy, well, you did a pretty good job there, but we might need to straighten that first row. I'll go up there and straighten that up for you. Well, he takes about 1 rung up the ladder, and Aunt B is coming out with some lemonade. And Andy's like, oh, that'd be so good, cold lemonade. She said, no, it's not for you. It's for Mr. Wheeler, who's been working up on the hot roof. Well, Mr. Wheeler takes it and drinks it and says, oh, that really hits the spot. And we see Andy sitting there licking his lips like, boy, I could really use that lemonade, because he's blind. He's the one that's been up on the roof all this time. Well, a little later in the day, Andy's sitting in the easy chair, recliner there in the living room, and Aunt Bee and Mr. Wheeler come in after having gone out for the evening to see a movie. And they come in and they're talking about, they saw the movie and then walked around. She showed him the downtown Mayberry and everything. And it is mentioned in this scene, which is an answer to our trivia, if you were listening. What kind of movie did they see? I don't think the trivia is actually 100% right, because it doesn't really tell us what kind of movie they saw. The answer they want in the trivia that we're going to do is a cartoon, because he mentions, what about that cartoon? So people may not remember, before every movie shown back in the day, they always showed a cartoon before the movie. So it's a possibility the cartoon was just the lead in to the movie and not actually part of what they actually went to see. So that may or may not be, but a cartoon is the answer in the trivia we're looking for. So they they visit for a little while. Mr. Wheeler's all dressed up, and they come up with something else that they need him to do, and he says something like, I came here to do a day's worth of work and you goats won't let me leave. Well, he's going to paint the porch is what he's going to do. And Andy, after he goes upstairs, said, wait a minute, Aunt Bee. If I remember right, we just had that painted a couple of months ago. I'll just go up there and tell him that we don't need that done after all. She, oh, no, you can't do that. 2 coats of paint never hurt anybody. So we see the next day, Andy again walking out on the front porch and finding Mr. Wheeler mixing the paint to get ready to paint the front porch. And Mr. Wheeler begins to tell Andy about how we take people for granted, like your Aunt Bee there. We take them for granted. You see that cloud up in the sky? That's like a woman. We just take them for granted. Like, why is she not out on this beautiful day having a picnic and spending time enjoying nature? Why is because she hadn't got anybody to take her. Well, Andy goes, well, Mr. Wheeler, you're right. Tell you what, I've got some time. I'll paint the porch and you take Aunt Bee on a picnic. Well, he leaves. He tells Andy, you're a fine man. He walks off, and then Opie walks up and says, Pa, I thought Mr. Wheeler was painting the porch. He said, he is. He was. And Opie said, well, I don't see him doing it. Well, this is the first time Andy starts to realize completely like, you're right, Opie. Huh. And so he thinks to himself, maybe there's a problem there. But then we see him after he had finished painting. He's back at the courthouse and his hands are blistered. They're hurting. He's trying to get all the paint off of them and stuff when our mailman enters the scene. Now, our mailman, do you remember his name? The mailman's name in this case? His name was George. George is his name. That's trivia. But he comes in and he starts talking to Andy about, Andy, are you fixing to sell your house? He said, no, just doing some improvements. And he says, I wish you'd quit because you're causing trouble for all us other men. My wife's wanting me to do work around the house now. And I don't have a handyman. Well, about then, Mr. Wheeler comes in and Andy introduces him to George and they shake hands. Well, after Mr. Wheeler leaves, George looks at his hand and says, Andy, did you say he's a professional handyman? Yeah. Well, I just find that kind of curious because his hands are awful soft. They're very soft for a handyman. Oh, well, I guess it doesn't mean nothing. So he leaves, but Andy is now suspicious. And he knew that the last place that Mr. Wheeler had been was over in Mount Pilot. Is where he had been, Mount Pilot. He calls up the sheriff over there, and the sheriff starts telling him about Mr. Wheeler. Oh, you mean Gold Brick Wheeler? Yeah, he moved in with, I forgot the family's name, but he moved in with them and he was there for a week. About worked the husband or the brother, and the brother, it was a brother, to death. He said, say, Andy, Wheeler's not doing this to you, do you? And Andy go, oh, no, I got way too much smarts for that. But he hangs up the phone and realizes it. Next scene cuts to Andy in the evening, sitting on the front porch, cleaning his shotgun. And Mr. Wheeler walks out onto the front porch and says, Andy, supper's ready, about to be on the table. He goes, oh, Mr. Wheeler, I had something I want to talk to you about. And he goes, yeah. He said, well, I just wanted to thank you for your intentions. And you're almost like family to us now, Uncle Henry. And Wheeler's like, Uncle Henry? And he goes, yeah, I'm sorry. That kind of slipped out. But, we got to have our intentions. And I assume your intentions for Aunt B, it would be really good if you would just go ahead and share them with her this evening. And so Mr. Wheeler basically, right after that, says, Andy, I'll be right back. He gets in his truck and drives off. Andy watches him leave and begins to take his shotgun apart. And after he'd been, and Aunt B walks out. Where's Mr. Wheeler? Supper's ready. He said, well, he had to go. Oh, he just left? Yeah, he left. He had to run. He had to go. He didn't. And Aunt B says, well, it's just terrible. She didn't really realize that the kind of man Mr. Wheeler was. And she says, well, supper's ready. So Andy goes back in the house. So it fades to black, and we come up the next day for our epilogue. And a man's driving up in another fix-it-shop truck. He's got almost a station wagon. He does scissors and sharpens knives, and he has key and lock repairs, and he does all kinds of stuff. And he pulls up into the driveway of the Taylors, and Aunt B's out on the front porch sweeping. And he hops out and says, ma'am, have you got any knives or anything like that you'd like to have sharpened? Maybe some scissors? I'm very proficient at that. She goes, well, yes, I do have a knife is getting kind of dull. He said, well, that's wonderful. I'll get right to work. And he said, and can I park my car under your trees where it'll be cool when I come out to eat lunch in my vehicle? And she says, well, why would you have to do that? You should eat in the table. Well, Andy walks out at that point right behind her. And she goes, as a matter of fact, I don't need those knives sharpened or scissors. I don't need that. So no, thank you. Thank you very much. No. And so he leaves. And she looks at Andy kind of cowed a little bit. And Andy just kind of grins. And we fade to black. And that is the end of the story. So there you go. That is the entire episode, a synopsis for us all. So let's head back over and talk about let's don't do that. Let's go through some odd facts known by few. So that's going to be our next series of things here. All right. So I'm going to play some different music for that. So let's do this one. There we go. So we got some odd facts known by few. Now, in this episode, it features the only appearance of George Bricker. Now, George Bricker was the post office man that we saw in this episode. He was played by the actor Doodles Weaver was his name. Okay, Doodles Weaver played George Bricker, the mailman. Now, you may not know that he is the uncle of actress Sigourney Weaver that was in Aliens and Ghostbusters and things like that. Sigourney Weaver. That is her uncle. He also came back in the episode A Black Day for Mayberry when the gold truck was going through town. He was Regis. Regis put down that sign. It said down with the gold, down with, I forgot something about the gold standard. That's what he was talking about is Regis, but he played Regis. So that was Doodles Weaver. I thought I had another little bit of trivia about him, but I guess I don't. All right. So the actor who played Henry Wheeler, his name was Edgar Buchanan. And here's an odd fact that you may not know. He was a dentist before he became an actor. He was a dentist. It's just, wow. I did not know that. So he was a dentist. The episode's title, Aunt B's Brief Encounter, is a nod to a movie that's called, it was from 1945. It was a film called Brief Encounter by writer Noel Coward, which is about a fleeting romantic connection. That reference kind of adds a layer of sophistication to the episode, perhaps. But here, I looked that movie up to make sure what it was about. And the film called Brief Encounter. It's from 1945, but the plot was very not Mayberry friendly. Here's the summary. At a cafe at a railway station, housewife Laura Jessen meets Dr. Alec Harvey. Although they are both already married, they gradually fall in love with each other, and they continue to meet every Thursday at that small cafe, although they know their love is impossible. That's what the movie's about. So, not a very Mayberry story, but in this case, it was Aunt Bee and Mr. Wheeler, both unmarried people. So that's where the idea for Aunt Bee's Brief Encounter came from. Okay, so in this episode, too, this is something for you to listen for. This episode features the first noticeable use of birds chirping, the sound of birds chirping. It's probably a sound effect that they added in the outdoor scenes when they're outdoors working on the yard and on the house. It recurs in other parts of the series throughout the years. Additionally, the flower bushes that we see along the front of the Taylor's home that Mr. Wheeler is spraying and everything, those are only in this episode. We never see those again. All the flower bushes, he must have killed them. But this is the only time we see those flower bushes, or the flowers, the rose bushes or whatever they are that he's spraying. They only appear along the sidewalk in this particular episode. That's it. All right, so the license plate on Mr. Wheeler's truck, which I don't think I have an image of if you're watching, but it was DC 269. One of the squad car tags, right? And the plate on Mr. Murray's truck at the end of the episode, his plate number is VT772. And both of those plate numbers are used in other episodes throughout the series. So be watching for those as we go through the series. So the plate DC269 was the squad car license plate from once or twice. And Mr. Murray's truck, that was the man who was sharpening knives and scissors at the end of the episode. His VT772 was also reused throughout the series. The fact that Mr. Wheeler said he noticed aphids from the road, which he said, on those rose bushes, should have been a red flag for Andy. That's what a lot of people think. But perhaps the reasonable cost that he was charging to spray them threw Andy off. So someone pointed out that when Andy drives up to the house at this episode, that he is going the wrong way. Now, you may or may not know, but if you're driving on the right side of the road, as you normally would, you're not, in going that direction, you're not supposed to park on the left side of the road. In other words, the other direction. So Andy was driving from downtown Mayberry out toward his home, but yet he pulled over, still going in that direction, and parked by the tree in the front yard there of his house. So the front end of his house was pointed toward his driveway, and the back end was pointed toward the town of Mayberry. That's actually not legal in most places. So you're not supposed to park, go in the wrong direction. Somebody pointed that. Odd facts. Know about a few. I'm telling you, these are odd. I should tell you, this is an episode that Don Knotts does not appear in, but he is in the credits at the beginning, starring Don Knotts. The badge number on Mr. Bricker, the mailman's hat, if you watch the episode, you'll see clearly that he has a badge on his hat. The badge number is for the United States Postal Service is 263. Now, U.S. postal regulations from 1922 to 1982 specified that postal carriers had to display their badge on headgear. From 1983 onward, that was not required. So he had a badge on his hat. I mentioned already that he was the uncle of actress Sigourney Weaver. The Black Day for Mayberry is in season 4, episode number 7. So you'll see that as you go through. I knew there was something else about Regis I had not told you. When Andy is speaking on the telephone with the sheriff over in Mount Pilot, a gun rack is visible in the background. So it is basically identical to the gun rack that we see in the Mayberry courthouse. So it's very possible that the set for Mayberry's sheriff's office was doubled to represent the Mount Pilot sheriff's office. So they just rearranged things a little bit, and now you're in Mount Pilot when they shot the scene. So that's very likely, because that'd be a cheap way to do that, and who would ever notice? But that's likely what happened, because the gun racks, it looks very, very similar. Now, it may not be what happened, but something to watch for when you're watching the episode. And we also mentioned, and I mentioned it when we were going through the episode, that Aunt Bee was sitting in the living room with Mr. Wheeler looking at a picture book, where he was, she was showing him pictures from when she was young and skinny and had lived in Peoria. So that's something else to kind of have on your list of things. So she said she moved there with her family when she was 18 years old. The series, the Andy Griffith Show, establishes later episodes that Aunt Bee had a baby sister named Nora. That was Uncle Ollie's wife. And she had at least one brother, because her name's Bee Taylor, never married. So that means she has to be Andy's father's sister. That seems logical to me. Now, there may be some other ways she could be a Taylor and not be Andy's father's sister. But if you'll remember, she also helped raise Andy as well. So something happened to Andy's ma, just like happened to Opie's ma, we assume. So that is Odd Facts Known by Few, and hopefully you enjoyed those. Now, if you would like to look at these or pick up those Odd Facts Known by Few, you can head over to mayberry.info. A link will be in our show notes, and you can go to the episode, Aunt Bee's Brief Encounter, and all that information, the summaries, the Odd Facts Known by Few, everything is right there, including a list of all the actors who appeared in this episode that were given a name, at least. So they're all there. So make sure you go and check that out. All right, so now let's head back and do our trivia. So back to trivia and see how you did. Okay, I think we answered most of them, but maybe not all. So let's go back and check those out. What was the name of the man who the Taylors offered the Taylors his services? Well, it was Mr. Wheeler. And 91% of the people who took this quiz got it correct. Okay. What does the man ask for before he departs after he's worked in the yard or in the garden that day? Well, we talked about that too. He asked for an onion. 83%, almost 84% got that correct. So there's always, it's hard to get some of these exactly. All right, so next, number 3, Aunt Bee shows the man a picture of her when her family moved to, just mentioned that a second ago. The answer is Peoria. All right. What work do they keep him on the next day doing? So what work did they keep him the next day doing that he don't do, that Andy ends up doing? Reshingling the roof. Now, only 77% basically got that right. 76.67%. All right. Next. That night, he and Aunt B go to see what kind of movie. Now, the answers that they gave were a cartoon, a thriller, or a romance. They mention a cartoon, but that doesn't mean the whole movie was a cartoon, but that's all they ever mentioned. And only 42% or 41% got that right, because that's kind of a trick question to me. Kind of not a full question. All right. It's controversial. Controversial question. Okay. This is MeTV's providing these. Still a good quiz. All right. Number 6. Then the following day, what did the Taylors want him to work on? What do they want him to do the next day? Was it mend the fence, paint the porch, or redo crown molding? Well, the answer was they wanted him to paint the porch, which again, he didn't do. Now, 92% of people got this answer correct that have taken this quiz. Number 7. While speaking to Andy, Mr. Wheeler compares women to, well, you see that cloud right there, Andy? Yeah, so 79% have gotten cloud correct. Number 8. You wouldn't happen to remember the mailman's name, would you? Well, I told you the mailman's name, and the mailman's name was George Bricker. George Bricker, and 77% of the people remembered it too. So good job to them. All right, number 9. What town's sheriff does Andy give a call to verify the Mr. Wheeler story? Well, he calls Mount Pilot. Is who he calls. He calls there. Number 10, the final question. After the original man departs, Mr. Wheeler leaves. Aunt B nearly falls for another man who employs which trade? Well, he was a knife sharpener. 85% got that right. So how did you do? Did you get them? Those are pretty good. Those are good questions. They're over on MeTV. A link to that quiz will be located in our show notes. And you can go there. If you go to mayberry.com/podcasts, you'll be able to find episode number, whatever number this is, 838. You can find it, Aunt B's Brief Encounter. And you can find a link to all these things we're talking about. All right, so now we have some Paul Mulik trivia. So if you're ready for that, get your pencil out, because these are a little harder. They're going to be worth 7 points, because we're going to do this again next week. We got 7 points more next week that you'll be eligible to try. So this one is worth 7 points. 7 points. Are you ready? All right, here we go. Question number 1. It's all about cousins. Cousins. All right. But while we're waiting, let's do this. 2 Chairs No Waiting is brought to you by WeaversDepartmentStore.com. Head over to Weavers and check things out. They have got some Mayberry Lawman button-down shirt and lounge pants. Definitely something you might want to do. If you're looking at me tonight, you actually can see me wearing the shirt. It's a button-down collared shirt, and it is awesome. I love the shirt. While you're over there, you might want to check out some new exclusive design t-shirts we got from Colonel Harvey's, Floyd's Barbershop, Mayberry Sheriff's Office, and a Mayberry flag shirt that has the word Mayberry embedded all in the flag. Great looking shirt. And maybe you don't need that. Maybe you need a Mayberry Hotel keychain. Guys, there's so much over at Weaver's Department Store. Head over and check it out. All right, now on with the trivia. All right, question number 1. Thank you to Paul Mulik for these questions. Which 2 members of the Mayberry Sheriff's Department are cousins? Oh, Paul's being generous. Paul's being generous on this episode. These questions, at least at this question. Which 2 members of the Mayberry Sheriff's Department are cousins? All right, so the answer, this comes from various episodes, so it's not just one episode. The answer of the Sheriff's Department is Andy and Barney. Andy and Barney are cousins. I want to thank you, Cousin Andy. So Andy and Barney are cousins. We did have folks in the chat room saying Gomer and Goober. They're not really members of the sheriff's department, but I guess at times they could be considered that. But I was looking for Andy and Barney as the answers. Okay. All right. Number two. What is the name of Andy's second cousin who works on an oil tanker? What is the name of Andy's second cousin who works on an oil tanker? Oh, this is a little harder. Oh, folks in the chat room are getting it correct. Oh, my goodness. Great job, guys. I didn't know if anybody would get these. That's awesome. Good job. All right. So let me give you a hint. The episode it comes from is called Family Visit. All right. And Andy's cousin's name is Todd. Todd is his name. Todd is the name. All right. Number 3. Now, this one's worth 2 points. Now, come on. You got to get this right because just last week we talked about one of them. All right. Question number 3. Name 2 of Thelma Lou's cousins who have visited Mayberry. Okay, 2. So you get 1 point for each. A week or so ago. It's not been long at all since we did one of these. So if you listen to the podcast, you get at least one of them. All right. All right. So here's a hint. One of them is mentioned on The Perfect Female episode is entitled, and the other is mentioned in A Date for Gomer. I think that gives it away. The answer is Karen Moore, Thelma Lou's cousin, who was a skeet shooter champion, and Mary Grace Gossage. Mary Grace. Wouldn't be right for you to go to the dance unadorned, Mary Grace. All right, so those were worth 1 point each. 2 points possible. All right, question number 4. Which Mayberry citizen is Gomer Pyle's cousin? Which Mayberry citizen is Gomer Pyle's cousin? If you don't get that, you weren't even listening earlier. So this answer comes from various episodes. It's in a lot of them. I can't really give you a hint on that. But Gomer Pyle's cousin was Goober Pyle. All right. So if you weren't listening earlier when people were guessing the Goober and Gomer, you messed up. All right. Number 5. Two questions left. 2. All right. What's the name of Aunt Bee's cousin who has lots of big plans that never amount to anything? What's the name of Aunt Bee's cousin who has lots of big plans that never amount to anything? That's a little harder. I guess he would be Andy's cousin too. Maybe twice removed or once removed or something. All right. This is from the episode Aunt Bee's Cousin. Is that helpful? So the answer, her cousin who wouldn't amount to anything, his name is Bradford J. Taylor. I think if you said cousin Bradford, I'll give you that. But Bradford J. Taylor. If you got that all right, you ought to pat yourself on the back and be real happy about it. That is pretty impressive. Some people didn't even know he had a middle initial. Bradford J. Taylor. All right, and our final question for this week, number 6. Which cousin of Barney ruined the jail cell the jail cell keys by over polishing them? Which cousin of Barney ruined the jail cell keys by over polishing them? The episode, I can't tell you. Yeah, I can't tell you the name of the episode. I can't tell you. All right, the answer, the reason I can't tell you, because the answer is Virgil, and the name of the episode is Cousin Virgil. Good job, Paul. Oh, so how did you do? There were 7 points possible. 7 points? Did you get 7? 6? How did you do? This was a good one. Most of these, even if you missed them, you'd be going, oh, I should know this, right? So that's when I think the trivia is the best. It's when things that I should have known and I didn't. That's when it's the best. So I think that is awesome. So thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for that trivia. I think everybody enjoyed that. And we have one final thing I want to do for us here. We have a voicemail that came in. I think I have the voicemail. Yeah, here it is. From Al Becker, talking about a leg of lamb. So let's hear this voicemail real quick and see what he has to tell us.
Good morning, everyone. This is Al Becker. Y'all know Al Becker. I seen something interesting. Was watching on Andy's show, Ellie for Council, on the Great American Family Channel. And when they got to Otis in the cell with the leg of lamb, but you hit her mother, they cut that out. And then when Andy went to apologize to Ellie at the drugstore, they cut the part out where Otis was right. All they understand is a leg of lamb, wherever how that goes. So I just thought, well, are they getting politically correct on us? I hope not. Y'all have a good day.
I doubt they're getting politically correct so much as they're just trying to put in more commercials. But that is sad that they cut those out. It's a great reason to always try to watch it on the DVDs if you have the DVDs. Or you can probably head over to Pluto.tv. It's a streaming service. If you have a TV that can stream things or add apps, put that app on there. It's free. And there is an Andy Griffith Show channel. You can watch it all the time on there. And you can also, of course, watch it over on MeTV and other places. I watch it as much as I can on any particular network because I want it to make money so that people will continue to show it on television. But yeah, I hit right in the mouth. Yeah, so that's too bad that they cut that out. But I guess if they cut out one part, they'd have to cut out the other the second one, they would have to cut it out because nobody would know what that meant if they cut it out of the first time. So hopefully they didn't get a rude. We are having reports that Facebook is giving people a rude when they quoted Barney saying, "Women, they're all nuts." So perhaps there is something to the idea that they're getting too politically correct to even allow Otis to talk about hitting his mother. He didn't do it on purpose. He swung a leg of lamb there. Yeah, but I missed her. But you hit her mother. Yeah, right in the mouth. Oh, it's just a joke, people. It's just a joke. Can you not laugh? It didn't really happen. Otis said it happened, but it's not real. Even though for us in Mayberry, yeah, it's real. Otis did that. So, all right. So that is all of our odd facts known by few. It's our voicemail. It's everything about this particular episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed being a part of the podcast. I would love to hear from you. And let me know what you think about this. You can give me a call at 888-684-8415. You can email me at floyd@imayberry.com or drop by over at imayberry.com/podcast. And you can join us. If you just go to imayberry.com, click the podcast button, and it'll take you to it. You can get all these episodes. All the episodes are available. Even the video versions, you can get them from there. Head over to YouTube and watch them if you'd like to. Folks, thanks for being here, and thanks so much for all your support for Two Chairs No Waiting. Thanks to Paul for putting in the trivia. And until next time, everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you here on Two Chairs.